In today's daily news report, I'll go over when the White House believes inflation and gas prices will come down. I'll talk about energy prices, the Trump raid situation updates from both sides, and some scathing and deceptive reports coming out of Ukraine. Plus, the White House shares how the Inflation Reduction Act will lower your bills and the ways Americans can lower their own inflation right away. Before I jump in, though, I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, Aura, and I'll tell you about their generous offer for protecting your identity and credit later in today's video. The relief we have seen from gas prices dropping has been life-changing, according to Biden's Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, and she wants to offer some additional good news. While the current average gas price is at $4 a gallon nationwide, she said the White House expects gas prices to come down another 22 cents a gallon in the fourth quarter, so just around the corner. However, she warns that global issues such as the war in Ukraine and other situations could impact this White House prediction. I personally believe that if we can avoid going to war with China attacking Taiwan, and let things cool down with the Ukraine-Russia situation, then I think the White House could be right. Inflation could be coming down and gas prices could be coming down. Now, according to them, both of these are going to be coming down very, very quickly. While we urgently try to avoid another war on the global level, Ukraine is still fighting hard against Russia. However, President Zelensky has warned that Russia's tactics are becoming worrisome. He states they arrange constant provocation with shelling of the territory of a nuclear power plant and try to bring their additional forces in this direction to blackmail our state and the entire free world even more. Now, Zelensky's comments are getting some pushback. There is evidence that the bombing near and around Ukraine's nuclear power plant clearly shows the trajectory of the missiles are coming from Ukrainian forces, not Russian forces. Even the head of the International Energy Association of Europe said these missiles are coming from Ukraine. It's not apparent why they would bomb their own nuclear plant and then blame it on Russia, except to get sympathy, support, and more money from Europe. So, if true, it could be that Ukraine is launching missiles at their own nuclear plant in order to blame Russia so that they can get more support and more money out of the United States and out of Europe. Again, if true, this is super devilish and could unleash irreparable damage on Europe and the globe. Like, imagine if they actually hit this plant and now there's nuclear waste dust flying and being caught in the wind and covering crops and countries as that nuclear dust heads west. It would be very, very bad. So anyway, just trying to show both sides, but there's a lot of credible sources saying this isn't what we think it is. Now, there is no doubt that Russia's tactics have been nothing short of terrorism in many concerns of this war. However, the director of Russia's foreign ministry has warned the United States against declaring them a terrorist state. He said, "I would like to mention the legislative initiative currently being discussed in Congress to declare Russia a country sponsor of terrorism. If passed, it would mean that Washington, D.C. would have to cross the point of no return, with the most serious collateral damage to bilateral diplomatic relations, up to their lowering or even breaking them off. The U.S. side has been warned." So basically he's saying, listen, if you label us a terrorist state versus a state at war with another country, then this will basically be the United States declaring war against Russia, and this whole situation will change dramatically. All right, now I have a lot more to share with you about inflation, the U.S. economy, and the Trump raid situation. But first, a word from today's video sponsor. I want to thank today's video sponsor, Aura, for showing my YouTube community the importance of protecting ourselves online. According to CNBC, Americans had $56 billion stolen from them because of identity theft in 2020. Aura is an identity theft protection specialist. They are a fraud monitoring service, a password manager, and a VPN for online browsing, all in one app. They've been featured on the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Business Insider, and Bloomberg News. With everything being digital, it's easier than ever to be tricked by scammers or have your identity stolen. I've even seen a problem with scammers right here in my YouTube comments where they pretend to be me in order to win your trust. Aura even monitors the dark web and will alert you up to 4 times faster if someone has hacked into your banking info or is illegally using your identity. The FBI recently announced identity theft is up over 70% since 2020, so the threat is real and growing. Click on their link right now or go to aura.com/Stephen, and I'll make sure to leave a link below. Now, I've partnered with Aura to get you a 14-day free trial to try them out and get familiar with their amazing services. So don't let scammers ruin your life or your finances. And thank you again, Aura, for sponsoring this video. All right, now let's get back to today's news update. Over the weekend, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre did an interview on ABC News. She was asked, why do you call this Inflation Reduction Bill by this name when it doesn't really reduce inflation, according to the Congressional Budget Office? Isn't that deceptive to the American people? I'll roll the clip and let you see her answer.
Inflation Reduction Act. But the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, said that there would be a negligible impact on inflation this year and barely impact inflation at all next year. I mean, isn't it almost Orwellian? How can you call it Inflation Reduction Act when the nonpartisan experts say it's not going to?
So I appreciate that. I appreciate the question. We've actually addressed this, the CBO. It was the top line number. There's more in there that shows that it will have the money remember how we're doing this too. It's making sure that billionaires in corporate America are paying their fair share, making sure that that the tax code is a little bit more fair. And so when you do that, when you put it in its totality, you will see that it will bring down, lower the deficit.
So basically, Miss Jean-Pierre is saying that the CBO doesn't fully understand President Biden's plan and how this bill will help the federal government go after billionaires and reduce everyone else's inflation situation. So my question is, will billionaires actually be forced to pay more taxes? And if they are, does that lower your monthly bills, right? Like if they were to get $10 billion out of Elon Musk, does that lower your bills in Iowa or New York City or Dallas or Los Angeles? Or does it simply enrich the federal government? Also, will the government actually go after the billionaires as she promises? Or will they continue to target American households that make under $100,000 a year? Now, I'm hopeful that they're going to keep their promise, right? Like they've said this on national news, but they tend to not go after the wealthy, and they tend to target the middle and lower income individual. So again, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'm just telling you guys what's in the news. Now, on the same day that this happened, an interview was happening with White House Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, and she was also called out by CNN for pushing tax credits that only help the wealthy and not the middle class. Well, Granholm protested and said, no. This bill actually does help the middle class to help themselves. Let me roll the clip.
About a tax credit on solar panels, electric vehicles, energy efficient appliances and windows. People who are spending money on those things aren't the ones who are living paycheck to paycheck and inflation is hitting the most.
Well, actually, no. I mean, people who are able to qualify, for example, for weatherization, there was a massive increase, billions of dollars, for people who are low and moderate income to be able to weatherize their home and save money right away. Up to 30% of energy bills can be saved. That was part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is one of the 4 pieces of legislation that I think have the biggest impact on lowering costs for people that has been passed by this president. So no, there are some things that take effect into the future, some that take effect right now.
So Ms. Granholm says the Inflation Reduction Bill doesn't reduce inflation, but it does give credits that middle-class Americans can take advantage of, and that will lower their own bills. So her solution to reducing inflation through the Inflation Reduction Bill is for you to install a $30,000 to $50,000 solar system on your roof, which would lower your energy bill by $100 to $200 a month during the summer. Her other idea is for you to go buy an electric car to take advantage of the generous $7,000 EV tax credit. But most middle-class Americans can't afford to buy an electric car, nor can they handle the increase on their already high electric bills. So I'm sharing these 2 clips with you because the White House says it's doing a lot for you, and this is their justification for the awesomeness of this new $700 billion Inflation Reduction Bill. But as someone who's done financial coaching for over 15 years now, I personally don't see how this helps many people save money by spending tens of thousands of dollars to save a couple $100. But again, I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not a White House economist, and I'll admit that. But let me know your thoughts. I hope these tax credits will help people right here in my community. But I would be lying if I didn't acknowledge I don't think it does. But maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope to be wrong on a lot of things. Okay, regarding the Trump raid situation, I want to try to cover this fairly from both sides. Presidential historian Michael Beschloss has offered some unique insight on the recent FBI raid of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Trump has recently tried to illustrate the hypocrisy of the FBI by showing how former presidents such as Obama or Bush were able to maintain documents without being raided. However, Michael explains why Trump's reasoning is somewhat flawed. He said, "We have never in history seen a former president take ultra-classified documents, stick them in a basement, loosely watched by government standards, and with the shadow of we still don't know what Trump's motives are." Sorry, that was a little bit of a confusing sentence on his part. So Mr. Beschloss also pointed out that Trump isn't wrong about Obama having millions of documents. The difference is they are guarded by armored guards and not just in a basement room. However, the DOJ approved the location of Trump housing these documents. They also required that this room be double locked, which they did. So on the one hand, it is concerning that he has these documents. On the other hand, for 18 months, they approved the location of these documents. So it's a little bit of, you just got to read between the lines, I guess. Now, with this information considered, the FBI raid does look a little bit less political. Nonetheless, the possibility that this was the Department of Justice and FBI being weaponized still sits in many people's mind, especially Republicans in Congress that have had to deal with all of the Russia stuff for the last 5 or 6 years. Now, the White House press secretary commented on this issue and said, "This is not about politicizing anything. That's not true at all. And I would remind our folks on the other side that the FBI director was appointed by the president's predecessor, which was Donald Trump." That's Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI. Now, despite what is being said, Trump appears to disagree. Over the last week, he has been heated, and his irritation has been spreading across his base of voters. Some are now drawing parallels between the January 6th situation and now as his supporters are reportedly becoming more hostile and threatening. It appears Trump realized this and made some comments on Truth Social saying, we're not going to stand for another scam. However, the temperature has to be brought down in the country. If it isn't, terrible things are going to happen. So basically, he's trying to tell his voter base to let's be calm, let's be rational as we work through the situation, but isn't letting up from the fact that he feels picked on. Now, personally, as I combed through the internet, I'm not seeing a lot of threats from Trump voters about committing violence, but I am reading that Mar-a-Lago is essentially surrounded by Trump voters waving Trump flags and American flags. Democrat Representative Carolyn Maloney said in an interview this weekend that it isn't public knowledge yet, but she knows for a fact President Joseph Robinette Biden has decided not to run for president in 2024. Now, this is according to a Democrat representative who's basically leaking this information, saying that Biden knows for a fact he's not running, even though publicly he says he is running. So do you think Biden isn't really planning to run? Or are Democrats flipping the script in order to keep Congress by saying before the election that President Biden won't run? And they're trying to get like a boost in Congress by letting Biden take the heat. I honestly don't know. I'm just telling you what's in the news from Democrat Representative Maloney. Now, earlier today, President Vladimir Putin of Russia said, Russia has weapons decades ahead of the rest of the world, and they will use them if provoked. He said most of the world's armies wouldn't be able to defend themselves against what we have. That's scary. Or could this just be more intimidation tactics from Russia? I don't really know. I know that the United States is behind on hypersonic missiles compared to Russia, but he's kind of alluding to the fact that they have other weapons that we don't know about that are far superior to other armies of the world. So that's a little bit intimidating, but maybe that's the point, right? Russia also announced that they aren't ready to take North Korea's offer of sending 100,000 armed military men and women to fight Ukraine, but Russia has agreed to start trading with North Korea and strengthen their trade relations. So, two enemies of the United States are pairing up to strengthen each other. So lots is going on right now that is very, very nerve-wracking, right? We do not want World War III. The first two world wars were absolutely devastating. So we hope we're not going down that path. Now, this is my update for today. Before you go, make sure to take 20 seconds to follow the link in the video description to go get signed up to be one of the winners of the $1,000 per person giveaway that Casey and I are doing. And this is our inflation reduction way of helping several people in our YouTube community with a little bit of extra money. And I'll make sure to leave a link below. Also, right now, go check out Aura. They are a fantastic company. You have no idea where your information has been sold or leaked or used against you. There's a whole dark web that Aura monitors, and they will alert you and clean up the mess on your behalf. So go check them out right now. I'll make sure to leave a link for them as well. Now, before you go, I want to remind you that you are amazing. I appreciate you being in my community, and I will see you on the next video.